Maria Franzoni, over to you. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Yay. And I'll
Thank
mute
you
myself.
very much. Thank you so much. So I love the fact that he stopped the recording and restarting. It's because he doesn't want to edit, is what he's really saying. He doesn't want to edit and have to start again. So I've ruined that now because obviously this is the beginning now. So you're going to have to edit that bit out. You see, see what I've done there? I'm terrible. So, if you don't know me, I've been in the speaking world for 23 years now, booking speakers. People call us speaker bookers when they're not in the industry. We've never called ourselves speaker bookers. We call ourselves consultants because we feel that we are advisors and matchmakers as opposed to bookers. We're just sort of guiding clients to the right speakers to match what their requirement is, whether it's to deal with a problem or to achieve an objective. And so that's what we do. And we represent and work with all sorts of people. We work with anybody from economists, financial experts, futurists, business people, entrepreneurs, sports people. So a wide range of people that can all add value to business. And our end clients are corporates, big businesses, governments, and higher level education in terms of executive level education. So that's who we work with. So that's the world I'm from. So it's a bit different to perhaps the world that you've known, and you may not have known about speaker bureaus and the fact that that's what we do, that we matchmake and help people book speakers. So we are motivated to get the best deal for the speaker, and also the best match for the client. We work on commission, so we always want to get the best deal for the speaker. And we also work with certain price level speakers because we work on commission. So normally the lowest level fee we would start with would be around the 3,000 mark for a speech, going up to the highest paid we've ever done was $1 million, which was very nice. Thank you very much. Just closed a deal today for $85,000. That was nice. I've just told you a number I shouldn't have told you, Elliot. Forget the person who that was, okay? He knows who it was. Do not tell anybody because I will put a contract out on you. So there is money out there. There is business out there. And just to give you some reassurance that the world hasn't stopped because of COVID, the fact is that the reason that companies and businesses book speakers has not changed. It hasn't changed. They book speakers because they need expertise, they need advice, they need solutions, they want the best possible advice for what they can afford. And that hasn't changed. All that's changed is how it's being delivered. What's wonderful is in the last month, the London Speaker Bureau, of which I'm a part of their network, did more or less the same number of bookings this year as they did last year. So the business is there. What has happened is that the types of client has changed. So where you might have had certain companies running certain events and maybe doing one or two, we're now seeing companies emerging who are really getting into this virtual world and seeing great value in it, and running event after event after event after event, which is fantastic because also they're very short lead times. It doesn't take long to set up a virtual event. You don't have to organise flights and visas and organise the catering and book the venues. So it's really easy to run. So you'll find that you can get booked for something in the next week, the next day, the next month. And in fact, the figures from London Speaker Bureau are that last September, 38% of their business was short term, 1 month or less lead time. This September, it's 58%. That's a 50% increase on last year. That's huge. And in fact, 80% of the bookings are either this month or next month, so within 8 weeks. That's great for cash flow if you're looking to make some money and you need some cash flow. That's great for so many reasons, but it makes it very hard. It was a huge strain when you're doing those kind of numbers with such short notice. It puts a lot of strain on the staff in the bureau because they're having to do so much more work in a tighter time frame. So what does it mean? It means you've got to be organised. If you're going to go out there and get stuff that's short notice, you've got to be organised and be set up to do that. So listen, I could talk about the industry and what's going on ad infinitum, but I think it might be nice to talk about some of the questions that you have and do a bit of a Q&A, if that's okay with you, Elliot?
Yeah, sure. So get your questions ready. I'll keep an eye on the chat. You must have some questions you would like to pick Maria's brains in terms of getting booked. What are people looking for? What's the hot topics? Things like that. But I'll kick it off with a couple of questions. So, Maria, I think this is on everybody's mind, which is probably why they came today. Are there speaking opportunities and are there paid speaking opportunities out there right now? I know you mentioned that person, which we can't mention, but he's high caliber. What about for the non-high caliber that are not in that person's caliber? Can I say
Yeah.
caliber any more times?
Caliber. I think I answered that in the fact that we've got exactly the same number of events going on. I mean, they're not all at that level. The majority of bookings are sort of in the, what should I say? In the old days, in the old world, they were like in the 5 to 15K bracket. Now they are starting lower. They're sort of in the 3 to 10K bracket now, the majority of them. But there are certainly bookings higher as well. So yes, there is business out there. There's also a lot of topics, a lot of speakers. So I got distracted by somebody wrote topics. A lot of speakers who are lower price bracket, but we don't get involved with those bookings, and simply because it's just not worth it from our point of view. Yeah, I'm a bit like Naomi Campbell. Don't get out of bed unless it's a certain amount of money. So we would turn that business away because we work on commission, but the speakers wouldn't potentially handle it themselves, rather
Right.
than putting it through a bureau.
Excellent. And I'll ask one more question before we go to the chat room. The question we always get when we get inquiries and I work with people is, where do people go to get bookings?
Ah. The easiest way to get bookings is to attract bookings. That's the easiest way. You can go out and push, but if you're attracting, you've already done half the sale because the
Right.
person has come to you for more. How do you attract it? Be completely clear on what the value is that you bring. Be completely clear on who you're targeting. Create incredible, valuable content and then guilt them into booking you because you've given them so much, so much, so much, so much, so much, they have to pay you next time they ask for anything. Gary Vee calls it guilt marketing. I think he's absolutely right. It's absolutely the way to go. The more you put out there, the more you give, the more value you give, people will think, wow, that's incredible. I wonder how much more I'd get if I pay. And of course,
Okay,
they then
great.
get it. They then get it, tailored to them.
So flood them with value, make them feel guilty that they're not
Absolutely.
paying you, and then charge them
It's what I did to you. It's what I
£85,000.
did to you, Elliot. It's what I did to
Exactly.
you.
That's true. That's true. Um, I'm very picky who I had to work with. So absolutely, you made me very guilty. Good job. Um, so we have a question from Kathleen here. So what topics are you seeing the big, someone just answered another question, so I jumped. What topics are you seeing the biggest interest in for clients hiring speakers? And what are the trends right
Okay. So I've got to be careful in answers. I've got to give you context because every bureau is different and we attract different kinds of inquiries. So the kinds of that doesn't say so any topics that I share with you might not be the topics that are out everywhere. They're the topics that people come to us for because it's what we're known for. So we tend to specialize in areas such as future, strategy, cyber, innovation, performance. Those are the ones that we get the most inquiries for. There are other bureaus that will specialize in other areas. We had a meeting yesterday with various bureau heads, and one of the bureau heads was working very much on diversity, inclusion, Black Lives Matter, lots of bookings in that area. So different bureaus specialize in different areas. We don't all fit the same mold. So if that's not a topic that you're covering and that's yours, don't be disheartened. It's just not one that we work in.
And there's a lot of rise. I can answer some of that as well, Kathleen. There's a lot of rise in mental health. We hate the word, but we'll call it that resilience, but don't call it resilience. But there is a rise in demand in that. Obviously, virtual working, virtual leadership are huge topics right now. Virtual motivation is another one that's very big. So I hope that helps you as well.
Yeah.
David is asking, how long do they want speakers to speak for and what rates can be expected? I guess that's the wild, wild west kind of question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the rates that can be expected is really depending on who your target audience is and who your target market is. If you're talking about corporates, they're still paying decent money. If you're talking about SMEs, it's going to be slightly different. So it depends, and also depends what industry they're in. It is, Elliot said it's the wild, wild west. It is the wild, wild west. It's very much what you can get based on what's going on. A lot of clients these days are just saying, "This is my budget. What can we do with that?" As opposed to saying, this is who I want. And there's two extremes when it comes to budget. There's those that are struggling because of the business that they're in, and they have low budgets. And then there's those guys that are doing very well and haven't been able to spend their budgets and are desperate to spend them. And there are people from now until the end of March who, so just look at the industries that are doing really well, they have to spend their budgets or lose them next year. And we get some ridiculous, which is what happened today, in fact, ridiculous budgets that are just I've got to spend it. Who can I get? Who can I have? And those are the ones you want to go after, and you can target those because you can. It's obvious which industry doing well. There was a first part of that question, which I've missed. How long do what people speak? It varies dramatically, but generally people want more interaction. So they would normally want a slightly shorter speech and then more interaction, and they're wanting more workshopy style stuff as opposed to just talking directly to camera.
Great. We've got one here.
I think someone wants to get in there, Janetta.
Yeah, I just let them in. I'm nice like that. We've got a question here from Maria. What is the start point for speaking? How good do you have to be a value speaker? We can both answer that, but I'll hand it over to you first.
Oh, you go first. Go on. So, gentleman first.
Maria, I don't know where you are in your journey, but I think you really have to think that when you're speaking, that you're utilizing however many people watching time. So you have to be an impactful speaker. You have to be relevant. Your content has to be appropriate for your market, and it has to add value. You know, the reason you get booked for your expertise is because you're adding value. The way to add value, there's various ways to do it. I don't know what you speak about, but for you to be a value speaker, as in someone that gets paid to speak or sells to speak, then you have to actually know who you want to speak in front of, know your market, know that they're going to buy from you, and be appropriate to them and deliver with impact. That's my answer from my world. Maria, from your world.
It's exactly the same. Also know how to actually calculate the return on investment. So how are you going to say to a client, this is the value that you get and this is how you will calculate it? Most speakers don't think in that way. Most speakers don't talk about outcomes. They talk about, I can do 45 minutes, I can do 20 minutes, I can do a workshop. Focus on outcomes. If you're delivering outcomes, a client will forgive any lack of stagecraft or lack of ability to deliver if you are delivering results. If you're not delivering results, then you've got to be a pretty good entertainer. Does that answer your question? And is it Maria or is it Marla? It looks like Marla.
Sorry, Marla. Sorry,
it's Marla.
Sorry, Marla.
Thank you. That makes it easier because then there's only one Maria. There should only ever be one Maria.
People are used to seeing Marias.
Sorry, for me that looks like
Marla
looks like an I. So I do apologize, Marla. My bad.
Not a problem.
Thank you. So I hope do you feel like that gave you the answer? Do you feel a bit more enlightened?
Yes, I mean I speak a lot, but in small groups, never to large audiences, and do a lot of coaching one-to-one, and that's the value perhaps I bring. But I think it's a big step to suddenly start going to talk to larger audiences rather than groups of 8 or 9. It just feels a little bit different.
It's interesting.
You can address that. Go on, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, Elliot can definitely help you with that, but it's interesting that a lot of speakers are obsessed with big audiences, and the best audiences for me are small senior audiences. They pay better.
Yeah. I engage better with smaller audiences.
You get better results.
I like people. I like talking to people. I like seeing the engagement back.
Stay there, stay in your sweet spot, do the small audiences and just do lots of them. So if there's 100 people, do them in 10 groups of 10. Don't do one group of 100, get paid 10 times. There's no, you don't have to do the big audiences. You really don't. But more often than not, people are saying to us, they're showing us show reels with huge audiences. Most of our audiences aren't huge because we work at senior level. And so you're not going to have 1,000 CEOs in a room. You might have a board, you might have 12 people. Do you know what I mean? So don't worry about the big audiences, worry about the quality of the audience and the fact that they're your right audience and that you can deliver value to them. So good, you're on the right track, carry on.
And also, someone we worked with last year, he's used to doing big rooms. He's used to doing like 1,000. He's been on stage with Gary Vee and people like that. The reason he turned to us is because he started to do board level talks. So 12 people in the room, and that gave him more dread than doing the big rooms, because I mean now it's all virtual anyway, right? But because when you do the big rooms, you don't actually see anybody because the lights are on you. So that's why there's so much demanding a response, yes or no, show of hands, give me a sound. You're gauging the audience. But he was more scared of the 12 in a room boardroom than he was. So there's a lot of strength in doing small groups and being able to connect. So don't underestimate what you bring to the table as well. We have a question here from Sarah. Is there anything different, stroke additional, which makes the difference for speakers getting booked virtually compared to in person?
Yeah, and then there's a second part to that question. Is that two different parts?
She's
The
saying
second part was
resilience-
just a comment. It's just run
Yeah.
together because nobody else commented in between.
You are sneaky.
Ignore the other part.
Is there anything different? Okay, the big thing with virtual, and some of you were on the session earlier this week. In fact, you can say the answer because Rebecca knows. She was on the session. Janetta was on the session. Who else was on? Was Marla on? No, I don't think. Senat was on. Senat will tell you she knows. In fact, Rebecca's done it. What have you done, Rebecca?
I've tried to make myself look as professional as possible.
So
Sort
yeah,
out background, sort out lighting. So yeah.
Yeah, the big thing with virtual is clients are nervous about you looking good, staying connected, being able to come across professionally on virtual. So I was very cruel to the group earlier this week, and I sent them off and I said, you should have all turned up as if you were presenting to somebody who could book you. I am a booker. Go away, go and do your hair, do your makeup, get your lights sorted out, change your camera, change your backdrop. So I was very cruel, and I noticed, Senat, now you are in a horizontal position rather than not horizontal, just portrait, and what was the other one? Landscape. Your landscape, much better. Thank you very much. So guys, whenever you're online, especially if you're being recorded, which you are, and you don't know what Elliot's going to do with this recording, turn up like a professional virtual speaker so that the client is not nervous. And if they see you on any video, they think, oh, that person looks great on video, looks great virtually. I'm really comfortable. I'm happy to go to them. If you give them any doubt, they'll move on to the next one. So that's the biggest thing. Some of you need sorting out, especially those of you who do not even turn your cameras on.
That is very naughty, because here you have someone who could book you and they're not even seeing your face, right?
Yeah. I don't even think they're there. I think they've gone off to have dinner.
Except for we know Mira's doing yoga, so she's exempt. But everyone else, we don't know. So
well, then again, you see Mira, she's doing yoga. She had an opportunity to talk to a booker, and instead she's doing yoga. Mira, I don't know what's going on here.
I'll do yoga with makeup. Okay, great. I'm here, but I'm post-surgery. Okay, fine.
Okay, Susanna, that's fine.
We'll let you off. Any more questions for Maria? You must have more questions. What about in terms of territories opening up, Maria? Is there any insights you want to share about? Because you gave us the question. I tell you what, do your whole Earth question. I think that's it.
My flat. Okay, who's the flat earther? Yeah. Well, let me tell you, the Earth is flat. The flat earthers are correct. What do I mean by that? I mean that you can speak anywhere. There is no barrier to speaking in any territory at the moment. You haven't got jet lag. You haven't got to pay for a ticket. You haven't got to plan the trip. You haven't got to take the time out. So if you're thinking, actually, there's a market I want to get into, this is the time to do it, because there's no barrier to doing that. Beware that everybody else has got the same idea, so they'll all be working in all the other different markets. But if some of you were thinking actually the US is the market to go to, which the US is the highest paying market for speakers still. Middle East is also pretty good, but the US is great. If that's a market you want to get into, this is the time to do it. Why not? And you can go in and undercut your competition, because you'll still be getting more than you would here, but you'd be cheaper than your competition is there locally. This is on record. Please don't put this up publicly, otherwise I'll alienate all my American friends. And then the other fantastic opportunity, and there are speakers doing this, and in fact we will be interviewing one of them and finding out how he's done it. You can do 5 gigs in a day, because you don't have to travel between gigs. And we're going to be interviewing him and saying, how have you got 5 gigs a day? So the business is there. So
do you want me to edit that out? In all seriousness?
No. When they don't, I don't want. I don't know. Who cares, right? Who cares?
I can edit it out. So
No, leave it. Let's leave it. Let's
Okay, cool.
be brazen.
Okay, so many IT platforms. Any particular ones clients go for speaking online?
Okay, you tell me. Oh, so are you talking about the platforms to where the sessions are run, or are you talking
I
about the
think that's what
platforms where they want
David's
to book?
asking. Well, David, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, the question was, I've got clients using webinars, Teams, Adobe Connect, Zoom, but each one are separate learning platforms. And especially if you're a speaker that's more focused on your delivery rather than the methodology of how delivery, do the clients say, right, they must be able to use Teams, they must be able to use, etc., and then filter it from that, or do they filter from the speech content?
No, they'll choose the speaker and then they'll expect the speaker to learn the platform, and they will dictate the platform. And it's much harder to work in this online world than it was in the past. And more often than not, a lot of them will also want to have several tech tests as well. So when you're speaking, you not only do you have to learn a new platform, you're going to have to do several tech tests as well as your normal briefing. And clients at the moment seem to be far more obsessed with the tech than they are with actually the content, which is ridiculous. But that's what's happening at the moment. There's huge nervousness, which is why I'm saying turn up looking right, so you give them some hope. But yeah, unfortunately you can't dictate the platform, they will dictate it, and then they'll expect you to learn it. However, they will teach you.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Dave. So I'll read this one, then I'll ask one last question, and then we'll move forward with the evening. And then, of course, you're very welcome to connect with Maria, and she can tell you how. She can tell you all about her amazing Facebook group, and that's the best forum to connect with her, of course. So what is the best way to approach educational and community-based groups in an online environment? Again, I think we can both talk about that.
I have no idea because it's not my area at all. So over to you.
Yeah, so the ways to do that is you've got to have, I mean, it is similar, Marie. I think the answer is similar to you would go. You need to have the bookability ready. So you've got to have everything that they would want from you to be bookable, i.e., the right kind of images, the right kind of bio, the right kind of footage. So even though you're going for the online environment, they still need to understand the value you're going to bring by them giving you a speaking slot, by you speaking to their communities. So you still have to have all your ducks in a row. So when they go, sure, send us over your stuff, you have that, and then you're bookable, you're book ready, so to speak. So that would be the answer. It's not dissimilar to being booked for other gigs.
I think I misunderstood the question. Sorry about that.
Unless I'm misunderstanding the question.
I thought it was about getting into educational speak. Is that no? Have I misunderstood? I did misunderstand it. Yeah.
I should. I'm
Paige,
much
clarify.
better at speaking than I am typing.
Speak.
So my audience is community-based and educational-based. So ordinarily, I'd approach organisations and trusts and also schools, but obviously at the moment you can't go into schools and you're limited to community-based projects because a lot of them are either shut completely or there's social distancing in place. So on an online environment, how do you kind of get that audience to still listen to you?
Yeah, I did understand the question. Definitely not my area. I'll tell you what you need to do is you need to contact Claire Young from Speakers for Schools or School Speakers. Yeah. I always get it the wrong way around. It might be School Speakers. She is the expert in that area and gets speakers paid to speak in schools, which is great. And so she can help you at least with that part. But because I work with corporates and big business, it's not something that I know very much about because there's not enough commission in that area.
Okay. Maria, where did you say Claire was from?
I can't remember if it's School Speakers or Speakers for School, but it's Claire Young. She's in my group. If you come into Speaking Business on Facebook, join my group. She's in there. I'll put a link to the group.
You.
There we go. Sorry, I misunderstood the question. Naughty me. Okay. So the last question, which I'm pretty sure is on most people's mind, Maria, is how do people get into a bureau such as yours so they can be represented? Now, I know it varies from bureau to bureau, but I know people will be thinking it. So let me ask it, and you'll give us one of your very honest answers. Over to you.
Well, you've got to have something different and unique, and you've got to do your homework. So a lot of speakers don't do their homework. What they do is they will approach every single bureau, which is not the way to do it. So when you're approaching a bureau, I told you the areas we work in. So if you speak in those areas, that's already a start because you're a fit. But if you're talking about other areas, you're not a fit. So be careful, and only ever approach a bureau when you know you are absolutely ready. And I'll explain what that means, because you get one chance with bureaus. And I'll give you an example. So there's a wonderful speaker called Philip Hesketh, who is an expert in persuasion and influence. He approached bureaus 17 years too early. Actually, it wasn't 17 years too early, but it took him 17 years to get picked up because he approached bureaus too early. Nobody forgets, and you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So what does it mean to be ready? You need to already be getting booked. You need to already have a track history. You need to have testimonials from the right clients. You need to have a really well-written bio with credentials that support the fact that you are credible to talk about the topic you talk about. You need to be clear on your outcomes that you deliver to your clients. You need to have really good, well-written topics with takeaways. You need to have great video. Yeah? Okay. And you need to be a good speaker. You don't have to be the best speaker on the planet if you are able to deliver outcomes. So if I always say, it's stagecraft or content. I'm not interested in stagecraft. I'm interested in somebody who can hold my attention, deliver great value. I don't need you to go and worry too much about the stagecraft bit comes later on. The content bit for me is much more important. Which I know you do a lot of stuff on stagecraft, so I hope that doesn't contradict what you say. I'm sure it doesn't, Elliot.
Not at all, because I'm also content-based, but being impactful with it.
Fantastic. Yeah. But what most people do is they don't have everything, and you need to be really easy to work with and to book. And if you're not, and you haven't got all those things in place, it's hard work. Oh, and great photographs. And at the moment, you've got to look great on camera as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for coming in and delivering your value and sharing your insights as always. And so do jump into her group. She's put the link in the chat. And do join, because she shares a podcast, she shares interviews, she shares insight into the speaking world. She often speaks to other bureaus and then comes and reports back. So it's a great group. It's a great community. Before I go, we're going to carry on with the evening. You got 3 more speakers, a 10 more speaker, 15, a 5-minute and a 3-minute. Before we do that, I just want to know, what was your greatest insight, having listened to the Q&A, having listened to Maria, or maybe I said something that was, I don't know, an insight, but what was your biggest takeaway? So just put that in the chat.
Can I add something while they're doing that?
Of course you can.
Specifically for the ladies, tomorrow on LinkedIn, if you connect with me on LinkedIn on my profile, James Taylor and I are doing a LinkedIn Live, and our big topic tomorrow is, where are all the female speakers? So you might want to... Well, I know, that's why I'm saying, ladies. Sorry, Ben. Sorry, who else? David. Sorry, Katerina. You confused me there, Katerina.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a chap named Sean, but I don't know why I'm called Katerina, to be honest.
I just thought maybe on Wednesdays you're Katerina. I mean, there is, this does happen. You could be non-binary. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
My dad's cousin is Danny LaRue, or was Danny LaRue. That helps. So.
Oh, that explains so much. See, now you've just learned something about Katerina you didn't know about, isn't it, Elliot?
There we go. That's very true. I did not know this. Brilliant. So we've had some great insights, preparation from Marla. Mira, make sure your content is good and that your results and outcome are of value and tangible. Be prepared, understanding what bureaus are looking for, how to be ready for clients. Oh, it keeps jumping. First impressions, and you don't get a second chance. Oh, that stuck with me when you told me that. Some of the difference with virtual, I knew that, but you reminded me. The difference with virtual and getting some energy and motivation back. Yay. Will it be recorded? I have a client at 5.
You're late. In 5, I think. In 5, I think she means in 5.
Oh, in 5. Yes, everything will be recorded, so you can check it out later. Flood with value. Every time online is the same as an audition. Brilliant.
Very good. Great line, that one, Rachel. I like that.
Love it.
Right.
Okay,
super.
Awesome stuff. So Maria, let's give Maria a virtual round of applause. Yay.
Bye everybody. Lovely to see you. Hope to see some ladies tomorrow.
I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Ciao,
Maria.
ciao.